Absolutely. Right. We're going to move on from the mastery of detail to willingness to assume full responsibility. Um, Ben, do you want to elaborate on that? Or
Yeah, it's one of my favorite subjects. Taking and it was hard for me to do because I was always the one who say, well, it was his fault or her fault, or they gave me the homework late, or whatever. Uh, my people let me down, and so on. But somewhere along the line, I developed the ability to take absolute total responsibility for everything that happens in my little world. Uh, Whether that's technically true or not, and I almost hesitate to say that because that sort of cracks the door open for making excuses. But for instance, if I walk out and back, we're in rattlesnake country. Haven't seen one for years, but I'm always reading about a dog or a person stepping on a rattlesnake. If I go outside and God forbid get close to a rattlesnake and he bites me in the foot, that's sort of the snake's fault, especially if he was hiding and so on. But if I open the door to failure, I say, well, that was the snake's fault. It wasn't my fault. So it was my fault. I chose to live in rattlesnake country. I chose to walk out of the house or the office without looking carefully. You hate to be paranoid, but they're here. I walked out of the office one day. It was a different office. Opened the door and started to step in the parking lot, and coiled up right where my foot would have gone was a 5 foot rattlesnake. I know he's 5 foot because we cut off his head and measured him. I believe when you're studying snakes, first you cut off its head, then you find out if it was the farmer's friend. They're easier to measure and inspect when the head's gone, but you take responsibility for it. And one quick story, a golf, I know you like golf, a golf story. Lee Trevino, one of the great golfers of all time. Uh, Lee was struck by lightning twice in his career. Now you think, now there's a random act of God or a natural phenomenon or what have you. He said, no, it's totally my fault. And he said, I have to live my life that way. Good shots are my fault. Bad shots are my fault. Missed putts are my fault. Because if I start leaving it off to the greenskeeper didn't do a good job and my caddy handed me the wrong club and all that stuff, then I can start making excuses for my failures. Therefore, both lightning strikes were my fault. And someone said to him, how do you figure that? He said, I'm a grown man. I chose to go out on a cloudy, rainy-ish day with a bag of steel and aluminum clubs and stand under a tree when it started raining. Of course, I got struck by lightning. I mean, if you want to write a book about how to get struck by lightning, there you get it. Get out in a big field, golf course, carry along a bag of lightning rods called golf clubs, and then go stand under a tall tree, which is where the lightning is attracted to the highest point. Get under that on wet grass. Uh, he said, so if you don't take credit for being struck by lightning, you can't be a great golfer or a great human. So
Excellent.
sometimes it hurts, but I take utter and complete responsibility for what goes on around me.
Yeah. And I think one of the other things that we need to be clear of the fact is every time when we know we're responsible for something and we try and shift the blame to others or other things, what we're doing is we're giving away energy and power from within ourselves to third party by accepting the willingness to assume full responsibility for your own actions and your own deeds. You are, in fact, embracing energy. You're building your energy level up because you know you're in charge. The moment you start to shift the blame to others, that is when you're starting to weaken yourself mentally and physically by giving away power, strength, and everything else inside of you because you're not prepared to harness that. So you're giving that away and you're losing control of yourself. Would you say on the
Absolutely.
mental level, Is that reality, or is it just sort of hearsay?
It's not only reality, it's a requirement, because if you start giving away that power, no matter what the little issue was, then you give it away on the next issue and the next issue and the next issue. And after a while, you have no control over your life or what goes on in it. It's a slippery slope. You got to be. I was walking along a year or two ago. I think it's been a couple of years now, looking at something. I was reading something, and I was walking through the shipping department, and I didn't see a 50-pound box of books, which is enough. You don't just stub your toe on it; it stops your progress. And I fell. I was walking and reading 1 second, and flat on the cement floor the next, and I knew I was hurt. 2 trips to the hospital took them to discover it, but I'd broken 8 ribs. And I think of that every time I'm in the shipping department, anytime in any area where I could trip or something. It wasn't the box's fault. It wasn't what I was reading's fault. Ben Gay wasn't paying attention and gave up a factor of his life to a situation, paid a price. Now we're down to, do I take full responsibility for that? Yeah, I have to. If not, then something else is not my fault, and something else is not my fault, and the control is gone. I repeat, it's a slippery slope. Don't get on it. And if you're on it now, dig in your fingernails, pull yourself back up to your feet, and start taking responsibility. It didn't take long. Earl Nightingale said you can form any habit in about 30 days. And if you're good, and if you see the rewards, there's something refreshing about, I'm in control of my life, the good and the bad, but I'm in control of my life versus somebody else is in control of my life. That's frightening.
Excellent, excellent. So again, now the last bit to touch on organized planning is cooperation. Cooperation to get you moving going forward requires other people to work with you, to cooperate in building your future, to build your destiny, to build your organization, your business from a standing still point, or even if you're slowly in motion at the moment, you need other people. It's literally impossible. Yes, people have done it occasionally on their own, and it's a rarity. But in most cases, you are going to need people around you, and you are going to require their cooperation. So, how would you basically say is the best way, Ben, to try and get cooperation from other people, people you might not even know, but would want to bring in to engage with yourself?
I'm going to give you 2 examples. One, Dr. Hill and his mastermind groups, where you take just disparate people, bring them together, and literally create another human being, another mind. And whether they like each other, when you said, who may not know each other or like each other, what have you. I said to Dr. Hill one day, right after I became president of the cosmetic company, I got these people, and all day long they come in. One guy complains about the other person. The lady comes in, the lawyer comes in and complains about the sales department. Sales department complains about, I said, it's driving me crazy. He said, have they been up to the house for cocktails or anything? And I said, no, I know I'm here at work. He said, well, that's a big mistake. Have them up to the house, make a big deal out of it, have it catered, and become their friends. And have them become each other's friends and form a team. So we did. And from that experience, when I was attitude coach for the Apollo astronauts, Apollo 15, 16, 17 astronauts, I used the same concept. I got the astronauts, the ground crews. The astronauts were the movie stars. The ground crews were the grunts. I don't care how smart they were, how many degrees they had. They were the grunts in the space program. And their children and their husbands or wives to all come together on a regular basis and become a team. And the quality of the shots NASA was putting up at the time actually improved measurably, specifically. So mastermind groups and so on do that on a regular basis. And it's just a matter of you being the ringmaster, the drum major, pulling them together, encouraging them, get them to work on a common goal, get them to like each other. And if there's some people who are just so miserable they can't be liked, get rid of them, because you want to create an atmosphere. Let me give you an example. A dear friend of mine who passed away not too long ago, Bernie Dorman. Bernie formed CEO Space, a large seminar networking type company. At its core, it is that you pay a fee to be a member, to go to meetings 4 times a year. And at those meetings, you never hear the word competition, competitiveness, or anything like that. They're all there to help each other. They sit around at lunch, and each person, and dinner and breakfast and so on, and there's 15, 20 tables. They each say, here's my challenge, and or here's my opportunity, whatever, to the whole table. And everybody has little cards, and they fill them out. If they can, I can help you with that. Contact me. Here's my name and phone number. And then the next person speaks and so on. And at the next meal, you don't sit with the people you were with that time. Everybody mixes around and so on. The entire business is built on the science of cooperation. And it's literally amazing to watch. I had an issue in the last day or two where I was thinking about, do I want to do this or build this or find this? It has to do with the National Association of Professional Salespeople. And I really don't have the time or energy to do what I want to do with it next. I thought, who would I find? I thought, oh, okay, take a few minutes and feed it out to CEO Space, and probably within 24 hours, I'll have 20 people qualified to do the job, or they know somebody who is qualified, or they know somebody who would love to do the job and is qualified. Most of these people that would respond, I don't know, but I've learned the value of cooperation. Uh, and you don't leave it to chance. You make the cooperation happen.
Excellent, excellent. I remember about 12, 13 years ago, we started a mastermind group for accountants. And at the same time, I had parallel running with a mastermind group for lawyers. And my difficulty when we set up the accountancy one, the same thing that I faced with the lawyers, were, well, how are we going to get 12 people in a room to share when we're in competition with each other? That was the biggest problem when I was recruiting the people into the group to benefit. And my argument always was, or my answer rather, was every single time was, well, what do you specialize in? And most of them were jack of all trades. And I said, well, just imagine if you were to just do taxation and nothing else, what would that mean for you? How big is that market, and how many people that are known in that market purely for taxation? And then if you got 4 guys working in taxation that are in the mastermind group, again, how do you subdivide the different sections? I'm the specialist tax officer who specializes in dental and medical care professions, and I'm the tax advisor that specializes in nothing else but businesses that are in the marine area. So again, within the first month of running the mastermind group, we're having a session and then weekly phone calls. They were all able to separate themselves up into 12 separate, unique, clear
Areas.
expertise businesses in their own specific fields. Whereas out of the 12, I would say probably 8, 9 of them were generalists, in all fairness. They did a bit of everything. And the other 3 or 4 were trying to be specialists, but they really weren't, because they were still taking on anything and everything. And, within the space of 12 months, they really all began to grow. But the support that they were giving to each other through the cooperation was phenomenal. And yet at the beginning, in the initial mastermind group, they were like, I'm not going to share the information because I don't want him to know or her to know, how we do this and how we do all that. But within 3 months, they were all supporting each other like as if they were best buddies and depending on each other's lives. And it's
Absolutely.
so important to do that. I mean, we're running, as you know, we've set up this Kind Socks project last year, which is an online socks business. For every pair of socks we sell, we donate a free pair of socks to the homeless community. And we've been struggling for the last 12 months to get a grip office to get the sort of volumes that we would like to be selling so we can give more away. So again, coming back to the cooperation and mastermind group, I've reached out to businesses that are doing in excess of £1 million turnover that are purely 100% e-commerce businesses. And we've now got 9 businesses together so far to form a mastermind group, which the first one will be taking place on Tuesday next week. Now, each one of those people in that group are doing an average of 3 to 7 million in turnover. I'm the only one that's doing a fraction of that, but the knowledge that they will gain from each other will be phenomenal. But at the same time, I'm now learning from people that know far more or are doing far more than what I'm capable
Mhm.
of in that arena. Now, because I'm the one that's bringing them together, I'm getting first-hand knowledge and experience on how to do that. They've never run a mastermind group. They've never thought about sharing their knowledge and experience with others to grow. I'll give you an example. One gentleman in there, he's doing about £3.5 million just on Amazon selling salt, and yet his own e-commerce
Wow.
platform. Yeah, this is sold for washing machines, dishwashers, and things like, you know. So again, he hasn't got a clear online strategy, but he does everything on Amazon. Then we have others who are doing about 5 million on garden furnishing online, but not doing anything on Amazon. So how do one learn from the other? So hang on, can I double the size of my business by learning what you know? And can you double the size of your business from learning what we know? How do you share that knowledge? How do you share those expertise to understand each other better, and at the same process become the backbone support infrastructure by asking and supporting the people, as opposed to saying, I don't want to see that person succeed. It's a question, I want to see that person succeed, because if he or she succeeds, I'm elevating my own self, because we're all growing
Absolutely.
at the same time. So it becomes, supporting each other. And one of the greatest things in the mastermind groups that we have is the accountability partners that we appoint to each other. And having those accountability partners, 2 people pairing up or 3 people pairing up, to just make sure every week that you're on target, you're challenging each other. So what we try and do, we try and take a personality test, which then tells me the type of character the person is, and I try and get in the opposite, the yin and yang. So
Mm.
they literally are challenging each other ideally. So we go a little bit deeper with myself, with them, making them do personality tests so I can understand the character of the person, the personality of the person, see his or her weaknesses as well as the strengths, then find somebody who's the total opposite. Now you've got, each one complementing each other, but at the same time, they become a challenge and support to the other person. So really, it all depends on your willingness to assume the responsibility for our strengths and our weaknesses, and how do we then cooperate with other people outside, even if they are competitors and rivals. How do we, by working together, build a bigger organization, have a smaller slice of a much, much bigger cake by supporting each other, rather than being fearful and not get anywhere on our own.
Absolutely. You hit on so many great points there. The I used to work with a company called the Executive Committee, TEC, and it was headed by a guy named Dr. Fred Cheney. I haven't heard of him in a long time. I don't know if they're in business now or not, but the concept is, because what he had done was almost exactly what you did, but he did break them up by profession. To join the XYZ chapter, it couldn't already have an accountant in it, if you're an accountant. So we had accountants sitting next to presidents of large restaurant chains, sitting next to car dealers or what have you, but they did the same thing. And my job with them was to go around to various chapter and speak. Every meeting had a guest speaker and their interaction. And so they didn't have any concern at all about sharing some secret. The advantage I had in going to group after group after group was it slowly dawned on me most people don't have any great secrets to protect. Uh, Gravity has been discovered, fire has been discovered and tamed, uh, the steam engine, things like that, the assembly line, the big breakthroughs have pretty much been done. Now we're down to high tech things and tweaking things. In going from chapter to chapter to chapter, this guy will make up and say accountants. I don't really have one in mind, but this group had an accountant who was glad he could share his great secrets with the other 11 because they weren't accountants. And I go to somebody else's chapter and there's an accountant. And his great secret is the one I heard last week at the other meeting. My point being, there aren't that many great secrets. I'm convinced, having worked with a lot of people over the years, that some of the greatest inventions ever are sitting in someone's storage locker or garage because they were afraid to tell anybody about it for fear it would be stolen. I've had people want me to help them promote their invention, but they wouldn't tell me what it was. They were willing to pay. Cost wasn't an option, but I couldn't really have the details of what we were trying to do because somebody was going to come steal it away, or they wanted me to sign a foot tall package of non-disclosure agreements, and I had to give up my firstborn and so on. I think, what a shame. It's probably a great idea, but no one will ever know about it. And then when he dies and his wife dies, or vice versa, and the daughter-in-law is cleaning out the house, the great invention will be thrown in the dumpster. And no one will ever know it existed because they were afraid to cooperate, to share, to work together. Now, there are legalities. I understand patents and copyrights and so on. I'm not discounting that, to protect yourself, but you don't protect yourself out of business.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right, that ends with chapter 4. So, guys and girls out there, I want to hear your comments below this video, please. Any questions, your comments of what you've learned. I'm going to reiterate again that once we've gone through the whole entire book, we will be selecting 12 people from around the world who myself and Ben will be mentoring for a duration of 12 months, absolutely free of charge, once a month for 4 hours via Zoom, to help you grow your businesses, your organizations to the next level, and helping you to lift yourself up from where you are to where you want to be. Now, we will only do that. We'll pick people from around the world. I don't care whether you happen to be in Afghanistan, in Africa, in China, in the back of beyond and nowhere. We will pick people from around the world to make sure that we're giving equal opportunities to everyone, as opposed to just people in the Western world, to prove that, by understanding the Think and Grow Rich applied, can be applied anywhere in the world to anyone if they set their mind to it. So the next chapter will be on major causes of failure in leadership. So that will be the next chapter that we'll be starting on.